Welcome for our comparative Bible study. The issue that we are going to discuss result that the coming of the Lord mentioned in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15 is different. The coming of the Son of Man in Matthew chapter 24 verse 39. Now, there are a big discussion regarding of this issue pertaining of different views of the theologian. However, I resolve that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15 is different. In Matthew chapter 24 verse 39, the coming of the Lord mentioned in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15, and then to confer in Matthew chapter 24 verse 39. Because there are many believers today that this issue, there is no different. However, I try to discuss and I resolve that the coming of the Lord mentioned in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15 is different even in Matthew chapter 24 verse 39. Now, why is it that these two verses different even? First ground, because in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15, this verse or this event is unprophesied. This is under mystery program. Romans chapter 26 or 16 rather 25. Romans chapter 16 verse 25. This is regarding mystery. Now to him that is of power to establish you according to my gospel and the preaching of Jesus Christ according to the revelation of the mystery which was kept secret since the world began. Never single mention in the Old Testament that the Greek believers under the Greek dispensation or the mystery program shall be caught up to make the Lord in the air. That's unprophesied. Whereas in Matthew chapter 24 verse 39, the coming of the Son of Man, it was prophesied. Now look at in Matthew chapter 24. Verse 39, and knew not until the flood came, and took them away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man. The coming of the Son of Man will happen after the Great Tribulation, 7 years Great Tribulation. Now, let's backward, verse 29. And immediately after tribulation. Now, what kind of tribulation is this? This is a great tribulation, verse 21, 22. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the Son of Man, the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. So, Matthew chapter 24 verse 39, and then 29 and 30, and then backward verse 21, this is referring to the Great Tribulation after Great Tribulation. Verse 21, for there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. The coming of the Son of Man, this is referring to the second coming of Christ after Great Tribulation. You see? And then, whereas in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15, the believers shall be caught up under the grace dispensation. This is unprophesied, and it was prophesied. Now look at in Jude chapter. Now let's go in Jude chapter 1 verse 14. Chapter 1 verse 14. Then, and Enoch, also the seventh from Adam, prophesied of this, saying, behold, the Lord coming with 10,000s of his saints. So this is referring to the second coming of Christ. Christ will return on this earth after Great Tribulation, and it was prophesied before. Daniel chapter 7 verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory, a kingdom that all people, nations, language should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Now, it's clear that the coming of the Son of Man, which is referring to the second coming of Christ after 7 years Great Tribulation, it's clear that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15, different event. Now why? Now look at the 1 Thessalonians. Let's go. Chapter 4 verse 15. Verse 15. First Thessalonians chapter verse 15. this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven. Okay? For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven. And then, verse 17. 16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we referring to the believer under the grace dispensation. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Now, second round, why is it that in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 15 is different? Even in Matthew chapter 24, verse 39, the coming of the Son of Man. Because 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15 until 18 under of the grace dispensation. The put up mentioned in verse 17, these believers under of the grace dispensation. Caught up will happen when Christ descends from heaven under grace dispensation. And therefore, very different the issue in Matthew chapter 24 verse 39. Because Matthew chapter 24 verse 39, the Son of Man, or the coming of the Son of Man, will happen after great tribulation. Whereas, the contact mentioned in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 16 to 17 will happen before 7 years great tribulation. Third ground, resolve that the coming of the Lord mentioned in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 15 is different